Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Waldo, and in this video we're building a custom rear bumper for this flatbed. This is Billy Bob, my GMC C3500 HD that I purchased for only $300. I've swapped in a 5.9 Cummins and an Eaton Fuller transmission from a Freightliner. After building a custom flatbed, I finally got the truck on the road, and now we're just getting started with the adventures. Now, it's been a while since I've done a video in this build series. This is actually part 3 of the flatbed build series that I started last summer. Now, the flatbed is in a usable state, and I have gotten some use out of it. You can see that it's developed a nice patina of light surface rust here, but that's no issue because I will eventually get this thing hot dip galvanized, and this surface rust will be removed in the process, so there's no issue there. In this video, however, it's time to put a bumper on the back of this thing, and really it's more for looks and also to serve as a step than anything else. One of the things that I love about a flatbed like this is when they slope downward from the edge towards the middle, and then of course they level out once they get here. So that's the rough idea of what we're going to be going with here. I have some leftover pieces of 1/8 inch diamond plate that I'm going to use for the top surface of the bumper, and then I also have some regular 3/16 smooth plate that I'm going to use for the rest of the bumper. So I came up with some rough plans right here on what I want this thing to look like, so I'm going to start out by cutting out some of this diamond plate material. Beautiful. Yeah, so pro tip, when you're welding a 90-degree joint like this, welding the outside corner is actually a good way to minimize warping. If you welded the inside corner like this, which I will weld eventually, it'll warp upwards quite a bit, and in this specific case, that'll cause water to trap on this edge, which is not something that I want, so I weld the outside corner over here. So with these top pieces welded in place, you can see the bumper starting to take shape. So the next task is to cut the sides of the bumper out with some 3/16 inch plate. So while I'm at it, I'm actually kind of thinking maybe a piece of 1-inch square tubing like this would look good on the lower edge of the skirt over here. Now I do have a longer piece so that it'll go all the way. It's not going to just end here. That would be silly. But if I cut it to match this angle right here, and then the piece of plate that goes this will cover up the end, I think that would look pretty good. That would give the whole bed a more finished look. So this angle is about 67.5 degrees. Well, this is 73 degrees. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. As for this edge right here around the wheel, I'm kind of thinking like maybe I'll find some sort of a lip here, like a fender flare thing that'll go from here all the way to the other side, but that'll probably be for a different video. We got about 24.5 inches here. I found this piece of scrap here, and the angle of this just so happens to be pretty much exactly right. It's only about a 32nd of an inch off down at this end, so that's good enough. I'm going to use this. For this, we're like 13 1/16. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap here in between this and this so that I can fill it. Yeah, so I have this thing all tack welded together and I'm pretty happy with how it's come out so far. I think there's some pretty good access to the bumper pull hitch over there. The angles are right. I think the dimensions are about right. To be honest, I kind of eyeballed it and just, I didn't really have that much of a plan. I just figured, all right, I'm gonna come out like 4 inches, I'll come down 5 inches over here, and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps as I go along. All right, so it is time to fully weld this. Now, I have this thing set at, I think, 18.2 volts and 293 inches per minute, which is the recommended setting for 1/8 inch steel. This is 1/8 inch plate and 3/16 inch plate, and it's an outside edge, so it's I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful. We're gonna move pretty quickly, keep an eye on the puddle itself to make sure we're getting full coverage, and we're gonna try to make as long of a pass as possible before stopping. Really, my goal here is to get from the edge here to the tack here, basically do this whole section in 3 individual passes. Shouldn't be too hard to do. If you look at the upper left corner, you can see a real-time shot of the welding arc, which is very similar to what I see through my welding helmet. As I weld this joint, I'm not manipulating the gun at all. That is, I'm not zigzagging or weaving, just pulling in a straight line and watching the weld puddle fill in the joint. You can see the glowing molten weld puddle solidify shortly after the MIG gun passes over. All right, so for this joint right here, this is gonna be a vertical down joint for cosmetics. Now don't worry, I am gonna weld the other side of it with less concern for cosmetics, so it will be strong enough. Now my strategy for this is that I've kept the voltage the same, but I turned the wire feed speed down quite a bit so that I don't have too large of a puddle that sinks down and reduces penetration essentially. You can see how quickly I'm moving in order to keep the electrode in front of the weld puddle. The fast travel speed is enabled by having the voltage set higher than it would be set for welding vertical up. And then other than the cord for my gun getting snagged up a little bit on the ground, that was a really nice smooth weld and it looks great. It's perfect for this. And then last but not least, we got this simple joint up here. Now I already welded it from the back, so it's already fairly strong, but just gonna do a nice hot pass through here, maybe a little bit of gun manipulation. And I'm gonna try to do this whole thing in one pass. For this pass, I have the welder turned up fairly hot and I'm manipulating the gun in a very slight crescent-shaped pattern. Well, it is all fully welded here, and one of my main motivations was to use this as a step so that I have easier access to get up into the bed, and frankly, I would be remiss if I didn't test it out to see how the ergonomics are. So let's give it a try. And there's no flexing as far as I can tell, and I can step right easily. I'm a pretty tall guy, so I have long legs, so this is pretty easy for me. I don't know how easy it would be for a more normal heighted person, but yeah, no, this is pretty good. Happy with this. I want to just make a quick note about this so that I don't completely leave this hanging, but I'm thinking right now that I might just take a piece of like 1 inch thick by 1/8 inch thick flat bar and bend it along this edge here so it'll be sticking out as much as this is here. That'll sort of complete this. It'll cover up this hole here in the end of the tubing, and then it'll also cover up the hole in the end of the tubing that I eventually put over here on this side. And I think it'll look pretty good. But that said, I don't know, if you guys have any ideas of what I could use as sort of like a fender lip here, please do let me know down in the comments, because I'm open to ideas, and I think I'm gonna do this at a later date. Let's do a little bit of a cold start, since I haven't started this thing in months. I do think this thing is losing its fuel prime after it sits for a little while, so it might have to crank a little bit. And the temperature is probably like 35 degrees Fahrenheit out, so it's not that cold, but yeah, let's give it a go. Well, let's check the oil first. Apparently I also left the batteries connected, so we're gonna find out if this thing has any slow battery drains, but yeah, the oil looks good, level's good. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Yeah, so it's been a little while since I've uploaded a video, and that's because I'm working on a couple really big projects. If you're interested in seeing what's going on, you can always follow me on Instagram at Waldo Welds. One of the big projects that I'm working on is a snowplow, and I'm kind of excited that we're supposed to get a really big snowstorm in a few days, so I have to hurry up and wrap that up so that I can hopefully test it out, because I really want to film using the snowplow at the end of the video, because I think that would wrap things up really nicely. Anyway, it's gonna be a really good video, I think, and it's really long, probably pretty close to an hour. In any case, I have to say thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Aspen, up. Good girl. You're a good jumper, huh? Oh, hi, Rhino. Hi, look at you. What a good boy. Aspen, you're a little bit in the way. The camera needs to be able to see the bumper. Aspen, off. Good girl.